Welcome to Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures. I started diving as a teenager and eventually decided to become a dive master. I started sailing as a young man and took many classes with the American Sailing Association and completed an offshore passage of over 1,000 miles nonstop. I love exploring and believe that life is an adventure. It is what you make it. I appreciate you joining me. Please hit that subscribe button. Enjoy. Scuba diving, Nassau Bahamas. Dive site, Twin Sisters. This is my second day of diving on this trip to the Bahamas and my second time diving this site. To clarify, my second time diving this site on this trip. I've been on this site many times over the years. This was the second dive of the day. It started at 11:15 and lasted just about an hour. I had an average depth of about 45 feet and a maximum depth of about 70 feet. The deeper wreck has this spool-looking device on the deck. Both wrecks are similar in size and shape, but with different material, and by material I mean these pipes and things like that on the deck. As I mentioned in part 1, I'm not 100% sure where these wrecks came from, but it's my understanding from the limited information I found that these were 2 oil tankers donated by the Shell Oil Company. They were sunk here as part of an artificial reef. I believe the decks of both wrecks range between 40 to 50 feet in depth. Given what I said about the depths of the decks and the fact that I spent most of this dive on the shallower wreck, you might be wondering why I hit 70 feet. Near the end of this dive, we had a great encounter with a large loggerhead turtle. Near the end of that experience, the loggerhead went down to the very bottom. He appeared to be scratching or rubbing his shell on the very keel of the wreck. Needless to say, I had to follow him down there and get some pictures and video. Anyway, you'll see that loggerhead at the very end of this video. Here we are rounding the port stern of the deeper wreck. During this visit, I tried to video the length of both wrecks. It was a beautiful day and there was a lot of sun. I love the way the rays of the sun come down through the water, so I'll often get positioned below the edge of the wreck and shoot up with the sunlight and sun rays coming down. It makes for some great photographs, in my opinion. Here you can see the port side of the wheelhouse on the deeper wreck. Here's a quick look inside the wheelhouse of the deeper wreck. For whatever reason, I'm not certain, there never seemed to be fish inside this wheelhouse, but the wheelhouse on the shallower wreck seems to always be filled with fish. At least it was on both of my visits this trip, and if memory serves me correctly, it was that way every other time I've been here. I'd have to go back and check the old videos to be certain, but I believe that to be the case. The majority of the dive group is moving off toward the shallower wreck. The spool has a lot of interesting growth on it and a lot of little fish. It made for some great photos. I'm sure it's not really called a spool. If you know what it is, please leave me a comment and let me know so I can call it by the right name. Here we are following the piping toward the bow on the deeper wreck. As the bow begins to come into view, you can see there are stairs on both the starboard and port sides leading up to a raised deck on the bow. And here you can also see the bow of the other boat starting to come into view. The bows of these ships are not directly aligned, but the bow of the shallower ship is set just to the starboard side of the lower wreck. You can clearly see here it's only a short distance between the bows of the wrecks, and there seem to be some large dock or mooring lines connecting the bows of the two ships. There's a mooring line leading to the surface from the bow of the shallow wreck. I'm guessing that this mechanical device on the bow of the shallower wreck is the windlass. The windlass is used to raise and lower the chain with the anchor. These short pilings in front of the windlass on the deck are probably used to secure the dock lines. On my boat, they'd be called a cleat. On a boat this size, I'm not sure if they use the same terminology. Here's a lionfish hanging out right in front of the windlass. Here's a view of the deck moving over the bow, facing aft. I caught a glimpse of this nice sized barracuda moving up toward the top of this stack into the sunlight. I followed him around in circles for a couple minutes and got some great pictures. What a beautiful view. Great visibility. From about 40 feet down here, you can tell there's not a cloud in the sky. Moving aft over the deck toward the wheelhouse. You can begin to see the fish in the wheelhouse, as I mentioned. The depth between the two wheelhouses on the two vessels isn't very different. I'm a little perplexed as to why the fish only seem to gather in this one. At this point in the dive, I thought I heard someone's signaling device. I looked around a bit but didn't see anything. I assumed that was the point at which the dive master had spotted the large loggerhead turtle. It would take several more minutes before I would figure out what was going on. In the meantime, I was enjoying taking pictures of these fish in the wheelhouse. Sunny days like this on wreck dives with great visibility make for some great photo opportunities. At this point, I noticed the dive master with the loggerhead turtle. For the record, I don't condone touching the sea life. The dive master seemed to be rubbing the turtle's shell. I'm not sure that the turtle enjoyed it. These turtles have a lifespan of 45 to about 70 years. It looks as though the end of one of its forelimbs is missing. Perhaps a shark encounter? That's only a guess. This is where I followed the turtle to the bottom of the boat. I tried to keep my distance, but yet be close enough to shoot a little video. They are such beautiful, graceful creatures in the water. I lost sight of the turtle for a moment as it went under the keel and then came back. I was fortunate enough at this point to be positioned directly in front of it and have it swim directly toward me. At this point, it was swimming right at me and went right underneath me. What a great experience. He made a partial circle underneath me and then headed back under the keel of the boat. It was at this point when he was under the keel that he did what appeared to me to be scratch his shell. This is what I mean here. It appears to me that he's using the keel of the boat to scratch his shell. Again, the same dive master reaches out to give the turtle a pat. I do not condone that behavior. After he gave his shell a good rub, he headed up to get a breath of air, and it was about time for me to end my dive. This was my last dive of the day and my last dive on this trip to the Bahamas. Turtle experiences are by far my favorite and always a great way to end a dive and a dive trip. Farewell and following seas, my turtle friend. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.